It's Veterans Day. And as we remember everyone who served to protect our country and our democracy,
Mm.
uh, we're actually looking at a story today that reminds us how fragile those freedoms really are.
Yeah.
We're going to be taking a look back at something that happened right here in our own backyard.
Okay.
Well, maybe not your backyard, but
Right.
close enough to make you shiver.
Interesting.
Just before
What?
the August primary election in St. Johns County, Florida, thousands of voters received something in the mail that could have really messed with how they voted. Fake voter guides.
Fake voter guides.
Yeah,
Oh.
so we've got a whole stack of reports here from local news outlets like Action News Jacks, First Coast News, WJXT,
Okay.
as well as some pieces from Florida Politics and Flagler Live.
Gotcha.
And what jumps out at me immediately is how sneaky these fake guides were designed.
Oh, really?
Yeah, they looked almost exactly like the official guides from the St. Johns County Republican Party,
Wow.
even down to the logo.
That's
Yeah.
wild.
It's pretty crazy.
Yeah. So it wasn't just about like, pushing certain candidates or whatever. They were really like trying to trick voters into thinking that these were the real endorsements from the GOP.
Yeah, like imagine
Wow.
opening your mailbox and seeing what you think is the official guide
Right.
from your party and then casting your vote based on that.
It's like they were trying to rig the game.
Totally.
Yeah.
And to make matters worse, these things landed in mailboxes right as early voting was beginning.
Oh, wow. So like,
Talk about pressure.
yeah, trying to time it. Just
Absolutely. So it wasn't just a last-minute thing.
Right.
This was calculated to actually interfere with voting.
Yeah. And that brings up the big question. Who was behind this and why?
Well, the articles don't really give us a for sure answer,
Okay.
but they do offer some clues. So Denver Cook, the St. Johns County GOP chair, seems to think it was either for political gain or just straight-up financial greed.
Oh, wow.
He even called this the worst possible case of voter fraud he's ever seen.
It's not technically voter fraud in like the traditional sense, but I mean,
Yeah.
I can see how he would say that just given how serious it is.
Absolutely.
So what about the Democrats?
Well, the St. Johns County Democratic Party has denied that they had anything to do with it.
Interesting.
So that kind of throws a wrench into things.
Yeah, it does.
There's also some talk in the articles about infighting within the Republican Party itself.
Oh, really?
Yeah, apparently there's been this rivalry going on between a Trump club and the Republican Executive Committee. And they've both been trying to get control within the party.
Okay, so this is all speculation
Yeah.
at this point, but it
Yeah.
definitely adds another layer to the whole thing.
Yeah, for sure. And it makes you wonder, if this was an inside job,
Right.
what lengths are people willing to go to get power?
Chilling thought.
Yeah, it really is. And it shows how important it is to really get to the bottom of this.
Yeah.
The articles mention that the St. Johns County GOP contacted law enforcement and the FDLE right away. They were collecting the fake guides to use as evidence, and they planned to take civil action.
So they were taking it seriously?
Yeah, but did they ever find out who did it?
Right. Were they brought to justice?
Well, the articles we have don't really say.
Okay.
But even if we never find out who did this,
Right.
there's still a really important question. What kind of impact does something like this have?
That's what gets me.
Right.
Yeah.
There's this political science professor at the University of North Florida, Sean Frieder.
Okay.
He said that even confusing a small number of voters in a really close race can change who wins. And with technology getting better all the time,
Right.
it's getting easier and easier to make these kinds of deceptive materials.
And that's why this case in St. Johns County should be a wake-up call.
Yeah.
This isn't just a local issue.
Mm-hmm.
It's a threat to the very core of our democracy.
Right.
If we can't trust the information that we're using to decide about our leaders,
Yeah.
then the whole system's at risk. Yeah. This wasn't just some kind of abstract threat to democracy, though.
Right.
It actually had real consequences for the candidates.
Yeah.
The articles mention a few races that were probably impacted by this.
Okay.
Remember Mara Macy?
Oh, yeah.
She was running against Congressman John Rutherford in Florida's 5th Congressional District.
Right. And the St. Johns County Republican Executive Committee, the REC, they had actually endorsed her.
Yeah. But these fake guides went and endorsed Rutherford instead.
Wow. Talk about a slap in the face.
Right. And it gets worse. It wasn't just the congressional race.
Really?
The fake guides also endorsed Tom Leek for State Senate District 7 and Nick Primrose for House District 18, even though the REC endorsed different people in those races, too.
So they were basically trying to create this whole other reality of endorsements,
Exactly.
which could have easily confused voters who weren't paying super close attention.
And think about the candidates themselves.
Right.
Putting in all this work to try to earn votes and get legitimate endorsements.
Yeah.
And then they have this deceptive campaign thrown into the mix.
That's terrible.
It really violates the trust of the voters, the candidates, and the whole electoral process.
It's like someone was trying to pull the rug out from under everyone.
Yeah.
And this was just a local election.
Right. Imagine if this happened nationally.
Oh, my God.
The potential for chaos and distrust is huge.
Yeah.
It's like a virus spreading doubt and cynicism about our whole political system.
So what can we do about it?
Right.
Do we just sit here and worry? Or are there things we can do to protect ourselves from this kind of manipulation?
Well, first we need to be aware of it.
Okay.
By talking about these tactics, by bringing them out into the open, we can make it harder for them to actually work.
Knowledge is power.
Exactly.
Yeah.
But what else?
We also need to be a lot more careful about the information we see, especially during election season.
Okay.
Fact-checking is really important.
Right.
Don't just believe things at face value, especially if they come from sources you don't recognize or seem too good to be true. So it's like being a detective.
Yeah.
Right. Looking for inconsistencies and red flags.
Exactly. And if something feels off, dig a little deeper. Check reputable sources, cross-reference information, and don't be afraid to ask questions.
Right.
There's a lot of resources out there to help you check information and spot misinformation.
So we need to be proactive,
Yeah,
not just reacting after the fact.
exactly.
We can't just wait for another scandal.
Right.
We need to be ready all the time.
And if you see something that looks suspicious, report it.
Yeah.
The authorities can't investigate if they don't know about it.
It's like, if you see something, say something. But instead of suspicious packages, it's suspicious information.
Exactly.
Okay, so we need to be careful as individuals.
Right, but this goes beyond that.
What do you mean?
We need system-wide changes to really address this.
Like what?
Well, for one, we need better election security measures.
Okay.
We talked about this before, but it's worth repeating. Secure voting machines, paper ballot backups, good auditing procedures, these are all important to make it harder for people to mess with voting.
So basically make it tougher to hack the system.
Exactly, but that's only part of it.
Okay.
We also need to tackle misinformation itself.
How do we do that?
We need to support strong fact-checking initiatives and put money into media literacy programs so people can learn how to look at information critically.
So it's a two-pronged approach.
Yes.
Secure the actual voting.
Right.
And help people think critically about the information they are using to make their decision.
Exactly.
This sounds like a big job.
It is. It will take all of us, lawmakers, tech companies, media outlets, and regular people.
It's a lot.
It is a big task.
Yeah.
But it's worth it.
Okay.
Because if we lose faith in our ability to choose our leaders freely and fairly, we lose something way more important than just an election.
You know, it's fitting that we're talking about this on Veterans Day. All those people who served in our military fought to protect our freedoms, including the right to vote.
It's a powerful connection, and it shows how important it is to keep fighting.
Yeah.
Not on battlefields, but right here at home to protect our elections and our democracy.
So as we honor those who served, let's also promise to be guardians of our own democracy.
You know, it's crazy to think how vulnerable democracy really is. The thing that gets me about these fake voter guides is that it wasn't just some random prank.
Yeah.
Someone spent real time and money to make them.
Exactly.
They had a goal in mind.
Absolutely. And we may not know their exact motivation,
Right.
but they were definitely trying to influence the election.
Yeah. They wanted specific people to win, and they were okay with using these tricks to make that happen.
Yeah.
It's scary to think someone might have gotten elected because of those lies.
Yeah.
And even if it didn't change the results, the fact that this happened makes people trust the system less.
You're right. When voters start to question the system.
Yeah. They lose faith and get cynical.
Mm-hmm.
And that apathy can be just as harmful as any manipulation.
Wow.
It's like a poison that slowly weakens our democracy.
So what can we do now? The election is over.
Right.
What's done is done.
Mm-hmm.
Do we just hope it doesn't happen again?
No way. We can't just sit back and do nothing.
Right.
First of all, the people behind these fake guides need to be held accountable.
Right.
We can't just treat this like a joke.
Right.
But how can we do that if we don't know who they are?
Yeah.
The articles don't say if anyone was ever caught.
Right.
That's where public pressure comes in.
Okay.
We need to push our elected officials and law enforcement to be transparent. They need to know that we're watching,
Yeah.
that this is serious,
Right.
and we won't put up with this kind of interference in our elections.
So we need to keep talking about this.
Exactly.
Even though the election is over,
Mm-hmm.
and make sure the investigation doesn't stop,
Right.
and that whoever did this faces consequences.
Absolutely, and we need to learn from what happened.
Yeah, how do we prevent this from happening again?
We need to fix both the technology problems and the human problems.
Okay, so what does that look like?
Well, for tech puck, we need better election security, like we talked about.
Right.
Secure voting machines, paper ballots as backup, strong auditing procedures.
So make the system harder to hack.
Exactly, but that's only half the battle.
Right.
We also need to fight the spread of misinformation.
How do we do that?
We need to give people the tools and knowledge to be critical of information and spot propaganda when they see it.
So we need new skills to navigate the digital world.
Exactly. It's like becoming a digital detective.
Yeah.
You have to learn how to spot the clues and follow the evidence to the truth.
It's a lot to think about.
It can feel overwhelming.
It does.
But we're not powerless.
Okay.
We have the power to demand better from our leaders,
Yeah.
to hold them accountable, to educate ourselves and our communities,
Right.
and to be more active and engaged citizens.
So this deep dive wasn't just about what happened in St. Johns County.
No.
It's a call to action for everyone.
Absolutely. Democracy isn't a spectator sport.
Right.
We need to be vigilant and participate.
Yeah.
And today on Veterans Day, as we remember those who fought for our freedoms, let's remember that fight for democracy continues.
Yeah.
And we must all join that fight.
Thanks for listening to The Deep Dive. We'll see you next time.